Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and today I thought it would be interesting to kind of touch upon for this month's video a different segment that I have not done yet on my channel that I thought it would be an interesting add-on to kind of feature, and that is technically, at least for this video, a game review. Now, I've gotten interested in playing board games in particular and card games more recently, um, and find it to be a very enjoyable experience to have. And it really allows people, I think, to really bond with each other when they're sort of playing these different games. And this game in particular that I'm going to touch upon is a little bit more simple and straightforward. So without further ado, let me discuss my particular thoughts and give you a little bit of background on the game. Timeline. Yes. And you might be wondering, is this the same game as this? Yes and no, because it is the exact same game with the exact same rules, except we're talking about different aspects of time. So for this particular one, this involves American history. So the things that are featured within this game involve American history. And this one I think is titled Inventions. So this can be inventions all across the span of any time period. So the way the game Timeline works is everyone's given, I believe, 5 cards. You can have up to 2 to 8 players, so it's pretty extensive. And basically how it works is once you lay out each player their cards, you lay out a card and it shows the date as well as the thing that happened within that date. So for example, in American history, you may come across the date of 1776 when we declared independence from the British. And you have to look at the cards you have and determine when within the timeline of 1776 does the event that you have end up falling under. So you have to kind of guess, or if you know the answer, then you just lay it out. And each player goes around and starts doing that. Now, it starts to get harder because as you lay down more cards, the more gaps of time start to be smaller. And so it gets a little bit more difficult. If you get the time placement wrong, then you have to pick up a card. And eventually the person who doesn't have any more cards anymore is the person that ends up winning the game. So it's fairly simple and straightforward in that sense. It's just, you just follow the timeline, and guess where within that timeline it falls under. And I think it's definitely a very good educational game for kids. So if maybe your child or a sibling or some other younger relative is maybe having trouble understanding history and the way in which timelines sort of operate, then this is definitely a game worth checking out. And there's more variations of this game besides American history and inventions. There's like tons of different ones. So there's different ones that you can look up online, and you can kind of pick and choose which ones you find to be the most interesting, or maybe the most relevant that your child is, or person that you know that's maybe a younger sibling needs to learn or something, and you can kind of just play it as a game and see if they can kind of understand the context of the things that were going on within the time periods. and with the sort of overall theme, like if they can sort of grasp American history and things like that. Again, it may sound maybe too simple for some and maybe not as interesting to others, but I think once you start playing it, it actually starts getting, it really does get interesting, especially when you get something wrong or when you're really close to the same amount of cards as the other player and you want to see if eventually you'll be the one to guess right or if they'll be the one to guess wrong or if vice versa, you know, you guess wrong and they guess right. Uh, so it's very interesting in that sense, and I kind of like the fact too that you can just play with two people as well. It's not necessarily a game where you have to have a lot of people playing it in order for it to be a sort of workable game. And yeah, I think that's really ultimately though all I can say about it. I think the way in which the rules work as far as the cards being dealt, I think the youngest person deals out the cards, or the youngest person can go first maybe as well. But I don't think you have to really follow those guidelines really. You can just kind of play it however you want, just as long as you just follow the simple rules and understand the way in which sort of timelines work as far as putting stuff before a certain date or after a certain date. Then it's pretty straightforward. It's not that complicated and there's not much to it, but it's kind of good to have these sort of, I think, more simplified games because then it allows younger people to experience games, and it also allows you to learn something within kind of the process of it. So I think it is definitely recommendable in my opinion, but I know there's some people that may or may not be interested in these kinds of games, just depending on if they think that it's too simple or they're just not the biggest fans of maybe history or whatnot. But I think it's definitely worth some time and energy if you're interested in just kind of learning a little bit in the process of a game as well, instead of just seeing it as a pure competition thing. But yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say for this particular video, but feel free to let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. I would be more than happy to hear all of your thoughts. But I think that's ultimately all I can say for this particular video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you on the next video.